With some breaking news we have out of San Diego, there is a SWAT team that has been called to an Islamic school. Police are calling it an active shooter situation. It's in this general vicinity right here. You can see the mosque in the distance. It's being zoomed into right now. We can see officers responding. There were students being let out of a door holding hands a moment ago. Governor Gavin Newsom says he has been informed and his office is coordinating with local law enforcement. The mayor is asking everyone to avoid the area and to follow instructions from public safety officials. And I was just hearing we have a former member of the FBI's hostage rescue team and MS Now national security and intelligence analyst Rob D'Amico on the phone with us. So, Rob, walk us through what we're looking at.
Yeah, so from what I heard, there is evidence of a shots fired there. And they're cordoning it off. They're trying to figure out right now safety. Do they have the shooter in custody? Do they have him neutralized? Do they have a description of them? That's the most important thing, to see if there's further threats outside of that area. If they have the shooter neutralized or in custody, then they can slow everything down, treat it as a crime scene, get, EMTs to the injured folks if there are any, and then try to figure out what's going on. At that point, they're going to start looking. Was this a coordinated attack? Was there someone else involved? If they have one person in custody, is there evidence from the witnesses or cameras that may be pointing to multiple people involved? Again, the safety of everyone else is what's going through their mind right now, so they're trying to determine that quickly, while they still have, to render aid if anyone was shot. And then you mentioned school kids, again, getting those and then starting looking at how do we get the loved ones link back up with their families and such.
Okay, so San Diego Union Tribune is reporting that the center is home to the Al Rashid School, which offers courses in Arabic language, Islamic studies, and the Quran. We have not gotten any confirmed reports on casualties or injuries. What we do know right now is that the governor has been alerted. He's coordinating, according to the governor's office, with local law enforcement and emergency services. As they always do. They say they're grateful for the first responders, and they're urging everybody to be safe. We're also hearing that other religious institutions in the neighborhood, religious schools, are monitoring this, and some of them are even on lockdown as well. Rob?
Yeah, you always want to lock down, especially, like you said, a school environment. You just don't understand the circumstances behind it. So you want to lock everyone down. Again, get everyone safe, figure out what's going on, and then you can slowly start, unlocking them or looking at moving them safely through buses, through police escort type of thing. If they don't have the, shooter in custody, if they don't understand how many people may have done this, but they want to stop everything, get everyone safe, figure out what's going on, then start looking at moving people if they think they have it contained. Again, they still have to go through, witnesses are the big thing. Was there more than one? What were they doing? Where did they come from? So that then they can start looking at other, maybe even camera footage to figure out if that person who was involved had any assistance at all. Because if that's the case, then they're going to have to start tracking that back.
And what you're looking at right now, you can see it at the bottom of the screen. You see officers in single file lines going into various rooms of this building. It does appear that there potentially is something active going on. Am I right to say that, Rob? I mean, a lot of the times when we're watching this stuff, there's a certain difference in posture of the police officers on scene when things have wrapped up, when there has been a believed to be a conclusion to the shooting or to the incident. And often when the camera zooms out like this, part of the reason is you don't want to get too close because you don't want to reveal the movements of officers in case anybody might be monitoring live television and might be seeing where officers are and watching as, they try to go room to room in building and then prepare themselves for when the officers might come. These are all precautionary moves that are made both by law enforcement and also by the media in these extraordinarily sensitive times.
Yeah, like you said, the biggest indicator if something's currently active, if they think is a threat, you can look at the police department's movements and how they're moving. A lot of times you'll see them, they'll be standing behind a car, but they're not crouched down. They're not looking down the sights of their weapons and such. And you can see, like, okay, it may be not safe. They don't understand. But if they're crouched down behind something and they're drawn down on their weapons, that indicates something definitely more active, that there's a presence that they believe, could put deadly force back on them. And as you mentioned, it's really, one thing that the media does understand. When you don't know and you're filming a situation like that, showing what the police are doing could give that person intelligence if they were, monitoring any of the TV feeds at all, so that you guys don't want to do that. But that's really important, is looking at the demeanor, the police officers, how they're moving between vehicles. Are they crouched down? Are they looking down the sights of their gun? That tells you that something's actively happening right there, that they have that they're worried about deadly force being placed on them, and they may have to use it themselves. That's a good indicator. I can't see your picture right now, so I don't see that. But also then, if you start looking at it, if they think he's barricaded or he or she's barricaded, you're going to start seeing other things come in. You may even see at one time they were looking at a vehicle, and I kind of predicted a drone would come in soon, because now they're starting to use drones instead of having to put people at risk. So they're starting to use drones in order to do that, which is, one of those things. Again, same thing with dogs and such. You can tell when that's happening from the scenes.
Yeah, and just looking at this, the spread here, you have a mosque in the middle. Within that, it appears that there is a school. There's a playground that is just outside of the building, potentially also a community center as well. The entire neighborhood, it appears, is locked down. Multiple police officers, multiple vehicles, SWAT teams, all responding to this area. You can see, it appears there's, more than 100 police officers on the scene. Does the size of the response tell you anything, Rob? Usually these responses are quite large, but this looks, even from my experience, this looks larger than most.
It's a lot of times when you have, because everyone just kind of goes to the response. That's the way it is. You just get there. I think what really is indicative of the size of the response is how many jurisdictions kind of surround that area. If it's in the middle of a city that has just one city, the police department, you have less response. But if it's in a place that's kind of on the edge, like you have a county sheriff, you have the city police, then you have another small city by it, and then you have federal agencies going in on top of it. That actually is what gets this response so large, because everyone's so close to it, and all those officers and agents are responding to it, and then it just kind of blows up into this huge factor, as opposed to, like, if there's one city and that's the only people responding, plus, the feds usually do that too. So depending on where it's at and the location of, say, the FBI office and the sheriff's office and the police department is really what's going to dictate how big that response is. Because once that call goes out, everyone just goes there. You go there, and then you let the command post figure out if, in fact, how they're going to use you, where they're going to set you up based on the threat.
So the San Diego Police Department has put out a message on social media. They say the scene at 750 Ekstrom Avenue is still active but contained. We have significant resources, as we've been witnessing, on the scene at the time. They also have a reunification location. That's at 4125 Hathaway Street in San Diego. Again, that's 4125 Hathaway Street, if anyone's watching right now. Rob, what does active but contained mean?
It's one of those things. There's no set script in it. Contained, to me, could be that they either have the suspect, they've identified the suspect, and he is barricaded, say, in an area, but they have it surrounded, that they know that they're not going to get out. Or it's, in fact, that they believe the shooter's been neutralized. They just haven't even when the shooter's neutralized, because a lot of times they could be wearing some type of body-worn device, that you want to have robots and you want to have, the bomb techs actually clear that person if he's down, what we call down hard, where you believe he's deceased. You just don't go up to him and, start doing anything with that until you have those safety things to make sure he's not wearing some type of, suicide vest or something that we've seen overseas and such. So
Rob,
contain means they really believe that they have the person responsible either alive and contained or possibly neutralized and contained.
Got it. You mentioned a moment ago that they're using drones more frequently now. How exactly do they use drones? Would it be to fly a drone up to a window? Is it potentially to fly a drone within the building? Explain that.
You now have them. So if the police department has first-person view where they wear the goggles, they can fly them into the buildings now. And they can go down the hallways. They even have, they're bringing on drones sometimes now for even active shooter in buildings that it's a third party. There's one incident when the hostage rescue team were up in Maryland, and we had a barricaded subject in there, and we heard a single gunshot. And a lot of times these barricaded, individuals end up, doing their self-harm. So we actually blew the windows open with a standoff device, and then we flew the drone in. And when the drone got over them, we saw the subject was faking having killed himself, waiting for us to come in.
Oh, wow.
So we knew from the drone, because it was literally a few inches over his head, that he was not, in fact, he did that one shot trying to get us to go in thinking he was down to ambush us again. So drones are so coming into it, and the police departments now are training their people to fly first person, what we call first person, where they wear goggles and they can fly them down the hallways, or they can monitor them different ways. But they're coming into law enforcement really large lately.